Welcome back, JD Parker students, to another day of virtual learning. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, and it is our 32nd day of virtual school. So the image you are looking at here is called Grand Prismatic Lake. It's in Yellowstone National Park. I've actually been there a couple times, and if you look in the background, really small people, you can see them. They have to stand on a walkway because Yellowstone is a super volcano. It's a volcano. It's kind of not like what you're probably thinking a volcano is. It does let off geysers. You can see Old Faithful in Yellowstone, and there are many of these beautiful lakes that are quite hot and have interesting organisms living in it, which gives it its unique color. So this is Grand Prismatic Lake. It is probably one of the most famous lakes in Yellowstone. Um, and it is that color because of the organisms and the temperature of the water there. So I wanted to share that picture with you. It's quite beautiful. I hope you get to visit Yellowstone one day. We are working on prime and composite numbers today. Also, we're going to review what factors are, and we're just going to touch on prime factorization. So prime and composite numbers, this should be a very easy day for most of you because this should still be kind of fresh in your head. A prime number is a number that only has one set of factors. So like the number 5 is prime because the only way you can make 5 in multiplication is 1 times itself. So a prime number is a number that can only be made through multiplication with 1 times that number. So 3 is prime, 5 is prime, 7's prime, 11 is prime. Also, composite is a number that has more than just the prime to it. It also can do 1 times that number, but then it has at least one more set of factors. You call that composite. Composite has at least 2 set of factors. Prime only has 1 set of factors, and it is the number 1 in itself. Now, the number 1 is not prime, and it's not composite. Number 1 is neither. It does not fall in that category, neither does number 0. Because number 1 is 1 times 1, and that's kind of redundant. You can't really do that. So it doesn't fall in that category of prime, which means it has 1 times another number. So 1 is not prime or composite. It's neither. The number 2, however, the number 2 is the only even number in the entire world that is prime. All other even numbers are composite because even numbers is 1 times that self, and then 2 times whatever half of that is. But 2 doesn't get to do 2 times 1 and the prime 1 times 2. You can't do it again. That's redundant. So you have prime numbers, 1 times itself. Then you have composite numbers, which has at least one other factor set. Prime factorization. This is a very interesting way to look at numbers. It's breaking numbers down by slowly chipping away at it. So the number 60, for instance, the number 60, they decided to do 4 times 15 would equal 60. And then you break 4 down to the smallest, and you're getting to prime. That's why it's called prime factorization. When you hit a prime number, you circle it because you're done. And here again, 2 is prime, 3 is prime, and 5 is prime. So 60 could be 4 times 15. And you break down 4, you get 2 times 2. You break down 15, you get 3 times 5. You can't break them down again, and you're not allowed to use 1 because 1 is not a prime number. So you could have also did 2 times 30. Then you would have circled the 2, which would have gave you that, and 30 would be 3 times 10 or 3 times 2 times 5. So no matter how you decide to tackle this, you will get the same answer when you're done, which is really awesome. And if you look at the bottom, it says 60 equals 2 2s times 3 times 5. So you have two sets of 2s, then times 3, then times 5. If you were to work this out, 2 squared is 2 times itself, 2, which is 4, times 3, which is 12, and then times 5, which is 60. That's another way to get to 60. All right. Yesterday's assignment was to complete basically 4 problems, but to make sure you wrote in all the answers to the rest, because I did give you all the answers. So I'm going to very quickly go through and review the answers to these 4 problems. All right. So you have 4 as the divisor, and the dividend is 631. How you read this is you read the big number first. 631 divided by 4. And if you were to set it up in fraction form, it would be 631 divided by 4. And how you type it in a calculator is the same way. 631 divided by 4. So that's how you get the answer. If you ever need to use a calculator for the bigger math problems, you type in the dividend first and then the divisor, and it'll shoot out the quotient to you. So 4 jumps inside this little half box and it sees a 6. 4 times 1 is 4. Subtract it out. You have 2 left over from that work, and you drop down the next one. Remember, division is repeated. Subtraction, do not try to add these. You'll end up with a bigger number. We're trying to work it back. We start with a bigger, we divide, and we get something smaller most of the time. So 4 now is going to jump in the box, and it always works from the bottom. It has 23. 4 times 5 is 20, and it subtracts out a 3, and it drops down a 1. Now we have 4 jumps in the box, sees a 31, and it is going to pull out a 7. 4 times 7 is 28, and it's left with 3. 3 left over. So in your homework or your classwork, it should have said 157 are 3 or 157 3/4. And the next one is 906 divided by 8. 8 jumps down inside the box there and pulls out one group of 8s. 8 times 1 is 8. Subtract that out and drop down the next digit, which makes it a 10. 8 now jumps in, sees a 10. It's going to pull out one group of 8 again. That makes 2 left over, and drop down the next one. 26. 8 times 4, 32, too big. 8 times 3, 24, and it has 2 left over. Remaining 2 or 2/8. Either one is okay. 113, remainder 2 or 2/8. However you want to write that. You only need to pick one of them though. And then you have a divisor of 6. So 6 jumps in, it sees a 6. That's pretty easy. 6 times 1 is 6. I have nothing left over. Drop down the next digit. Remember, my friends, as you're doing this, make sure you write what you're doing directly above the place value in, because this is not just really a 6. It's a 6,000. And this isn't really going to be a 1. It's going to be a 1,000. When we're done writing it out, the place value, as long as you keep it straight, the place value works itself perfectly out. Okay? Now you have 6 looks inside the box. There's a 7. You can only pull out 1 6 with that. You have 1 left over. Drop down the next one. It's a 3. And then 6 times 2 is 12. 1 left over. Drop down the next one. It's a 9. And then 6 times 3 is 18. And we have 1 left over. With the 1 left over, you can either do an R1 or you can do 1 over 6, 1/6. Either way is correct. And the next one, I actually want to show you something different with this one. Let me get rid of my work from yesterday. And I hope you guys are watching this because this is 5th grade level here that I'm about to show you. Might even jump into a little bit of 6th grade. So this is going to be, I'm going to solve this, but then I'm going to show you a different way also to solve it too. So 5 jumps inside the box. It's going to pull out as many 5s as possible. The first digit it sees is a 7. 5 times 1 is 5. Subtract that from 7. You have 2 left over and drop down the next digit. 5 jumps in the box and now it sees a 25. 5 times 5 is 25. How nice and neat. We're having such great luck with that. Oh, now we're not. 5 jumps in the box and it sees a 4. It can't pull any out, so you put a 0 up there. You put a 0 up there because it can't do anything, which is fine. 5 times 0 is 0. Subtract it, you still have 4. And then drop down the next digit, 49. Well, 5 times 10 is 50, and you can't put 2 digits up here because there's only one spot in the place value chart. This is ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. So 9 will be the answer. 9 times 5 is 45 with 4 left over. I'm going to show you something now. You could do R4. You could do 4/5, or you could put a decimal point there with a 0. That's kind of cool, huh? So the decimal point just brings it out further. There are no holes or parts. There are only holes that we're dividing. But you could do that too. And when you get an answer from a calculator, this is what the calculator does. It's not going to do a pretty little R4. And it's not going to give you the answer of 1,509 4/5. All those are correct, but this is how the calculator gives it to you. So for those of you who gave me your answer that I'm going to show you right now, that's because you used a calculator. When you use a calculator, you're going to get a different answer, and you bring that decimal point up right there, right above it. It's nice, line it up. Remember the rules, line it up. So yeah, these are all zeros. It doesn't matter how far back you go. They're always zeros back here. If they're not written, it's nothing. If they are written, it's a 0 right now. So it doesn't matter if you leave it a 0 or nothing. So you drop it down. Now it's a 40. 5 jumps in the box. It sees a 40 at the bottom. 40. 8 times 5 is 40. And guess what? Now you're done. You have nothing left over. So we don't have to keep working and extending it out. When you get into the higher grades, friends, they're going to make you keep going on and on and on and on until you finally reach an answer, or you learn how to draw. You do a symbol to say that it's just a repeating answer. So if you gave me this answer, that's because you used a calculator. Because without the calculator, you would have gave me this answer, 1,509. You had a 4/5 or an R4. Both of these answers are correct because when you divide 4/5, let me put it this way, 4/5, an equivalent fraction would be 8/10. 8 is in the tenths place. So when you're doing decimals, it only works with tens or 100 as a denominator. So it was 4/5. Very easy to turn that fifth into a 10 just by doubling the top and doubling the bottom, and you would have got 8/10. And I'm going to show you on a calculator how that looks. Okay, friends, so when you use a calculator, and you're going to use a calculator when you get into the higher grades because that's just how math works out, where you're doing higher concepts, so you don't have to worry about the little addition and subtraction, division, multiplication. When you're working with higher concepts, they actually encourage a calculator. So eventually you're going to be using one. So how I told you how this looks, this is actually 7,000. 549 divided by 5. This is how it looks in fraction form. This is how it looks when you write it out. 7,549 divided by 5. Now, it just got really bright in here. Now, I'm going to show you how to type that. So you type it as you read it, and you always read the dividend first. 7,549 divided by 5 equals. Here is your answer, 1,509 remaining, or 8/10 or 4/5. These are equivalent. So those of you who gave me this, I need you to be able to do this, though. You have to be able to work it out without, well, first of all, you have to be able to do it with a remainder. And eventually in 5th and 6th grade, you're going to have to do it with decimal points as well. So for those of you who gave me this answer, I needed you to give me this answer because this is the way I taught you to do it with a fraction or a remainder. But this is the way you're going, so. And then that was it for your questions because I had already gave you the answers to the other questions, and the secret word was Lee yesterday. Okay, now I'm going to go through this and I'm going to give you some answers, so make sure you write them down. We have the first section here says to find all the factors. It says use tiles. Obviously, you don't have those at school or at home. They're at school. Find the factors. So we're just going to find all the factors, okay? Finding all the factors of 17. Well, 17 is 1 times 17. So far, it's prime. Can we do a 2? No, it's not even. Can we do a 3? Well, if you add these up, you get 8. So the trick of the 3 doesn't work. 4, nope. 5, no. 6, nope. This is prime. This one is prime here. All right, so this one here is the number 42. I know there is a 1 times 42. There's also going to be 2 times something because it's even number. All of these are even. So 2 times factor pairs 21. And then you have 3 times 16. The secret is if you add those digits together, 4 plus 2 is 6. As long as it is a factor of a 3, then it'll work. And then 6 times 7 would be the last factor pair for this. How you would write this out would be 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 16, 21, and 42. This is how you write the factors out. This is how they look in their pairs. The next section, is 5 a factor of the number, whatever they tell you, right? Yes or no. So Y or N works fine for me. So is 5 a factor? Factor means something times 5 will give you 35. So yeah, 5 times 7. Yes. Would 5 be a factor of 56? It would not because it has to end with a 0 or a 5 to be a factor. So that's definitely a no there. The next section, factors of 16, factors of 49. I am going to do the factors of 16. Well, I know they're all going to have 1 times itself. 1 and 16 are factors of 16. I know that 2 because this is an even number. So 2 times 8 is 16. 2 and 8 is 16. And 4 times 4 is 16. 4 and 4 is 16. Over here, you're going to do the factors of 49. And we are going to skip these 2 problems. You do not have to do these 2 problems, so hopefully you're listening to this right now because you can leave these 2 blank. If you end up wanting to try them on your own, this is basically finding a common factor for 8, 12, 24. So a common factor, like what do all of these have in common? So like this has a 6 times 2, but this doesn't have a a 6, but it does have a 2. This would have a 2 too, but you're trying to find the highest common factor. Here you have a 15, a 30, and a 45. So like, for example, the common factor here, they all are multiples of 15. 15 times 1, 15 times 2, 15 times 3. So like she could put 15 items on each rack. She could put 5 items on each rack because they all have a common factor of 5 also. But you don't have to do those. On the back, here we go. Write yes or no. That's Y or N. Is the number a multiple of 9? So multiple means skip counting. So if I skip count by 9, will I get to 24? Let's see. 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 2. No, I won't get to 24. No. How about 18? Yes. 9 times 2 is 18. And you can do the other two. Just enter Y. Multiples of 4. And we're going to start counting by 4. Multiples of 5. And we're going to start counting by 5. And then we're going to circle the common multiples and write them down here. So multiples of 4, you have 4, 8, 12. So that's 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, 4 times 4, 4 times 5. And then you have 5, 10, 15, 20. So a common multiple would be 20 for both of them. Now down here you have multiples of 3. You're going to skip count by 3 and skip count by 6. They're both going to have a multiple of 6. So find a couple common multiples and then tell whether this is prime or composite. Prime or composite. So I'm going to do the first one, 39. This is composite. You do C or P. Composite because 3 times 13 is 39. Also, 1 times 39 is 39. So I know there's at least one more factor pair here. See what you can get for 29 and see what you can get for 51. And then we actually did most of this paper in the classroom. We are not going to do this one here. So you can also skip patterns, which is the only secret word of the day. Again, we're going to do this word right here, pattern. P-A-T-T-E-R-N, pattern. It'll be on your paper in case you want to see it. And you're just going to write it down here. And those that are listening will put that word here and you can leave that blank. But there will be empty text boxes. For those of you not watching the videos, they will actually be doing it because they won't know. So this is why we watch the videos, because I give you answers. Also, I help you understand any concepts you might not still be sure about. And also, I tell you don't have to do certain ones because this is just review. And we actually did this really well in the classroom. I remember going over this with you guys. So as a review, you only have 5 problems on the front. Number 3, 4, number 3, 4, and number 6. Only 5 problems. I crossed off the rest or gave it to you. And then on the back, you only have 5 problems. You have 3, 4. You have this 6 and 2, 3. So you have a total of 10 problems, which should be pretty easy for you to solve. On these, just list them. You don't have to like this. You can just list them like that. Don't worry about writing all the times. But if you want to write times instead of the comma, I don't care. You don't have to do both. Pick one or the other. Okay, my friends? Enjoy your day and make sure you watch the con video. Bye-bye.